Yeah, and I am so happy to have those moments because like I think T.I. is a trash person. You know, I'll say that 1,000 times over because first and foremost, I had spoken to T.I. prior to that event. Like T.I. was the only person on stage that I actually knew. And for the same reasons that I met you, Kanye had put us in touch, we had talked, and I know that T.I. thinks more conservatively. So he was literally putting on a show. And so it just makes me wonder, especially with all the stuff that like came out in the Diddy lawsuit, like who's controlling T.I.? Because that was wild. He was literally putting on a show like he didn't know me on stage, like he was surprised I was saying the stuff. He was way more level-headed and rational when we were on the phone. And I still look back on the moment, I'm like, what was he doing? It was like a circus act up there. And he was doing something that I thought was harmful because we were actually having a great discussion. And yet he created a little moment and that was all the media ran with. Despite the fact we were on that stage for hours, they ran with that moment. And I was really upset about it. But you're right. I was talking a lot about illegal immigration and saying this is something that we need to pay attention to because eventually the black vote's not going to matter. Something that they worked so hard for is not going to matter. They get enough illegals in, what are we at, 10 million under Biden? And they're doing it intentionally. Like it's going to be the same thing that they did to black Americans in the 60s.
She said T.I. was trash. Now, I don't know T.I., but I know he's an actor. And I don't know what they talked about prior to this. Maybe they didn't talk about the stuff that he reacted to on stage. Just because you're more conservative doesn't mean you're a conservative. And just because you are maybe more liberal doesn't mean that you are a Democrat. You know what I'm saying? I don't, because like me, people will probably say I'm conservative, but I'm not a Republican. There's going to be things that they say that I'm like, oh, what the hell? But it might be some stuff in there that I do agree with. I do agree, you know, that you should not be on welfare and not have all these free government programs and start educating yourself and learning how to use money as a tool. I believe in all that. But once you start talking about the American flag and make America great again, now you're losing me. You know what I'm saying? So who knows what they talked about on the phone? And a lot of times women's perspective and what they think is really happening is really not happening. You know, he might have just wanted to be nice on the phone. Didn't want to be rude. He's, you know, maybe he's a cordial person. Maybe he's not confrontational. He might be like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. I see your point. Okay, yeah. He might have some views that they agree on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he sees things her way, because a lot of the stuff that she talks about could be good for black people. But once you dive into all that she believes in, no, there's some things that it's just not going to fly. Some things that just sound like you are a plant that you're trying to infiltrate the so-called black community and get us to forget our history, forget all the terrorism that's happening in our communities, blend in with the so-called whites, not care about our nationality, not be loyal to our race. Like there's certain things that she's gonna bring up that I might not agree with, that T.I. might not agree with. When you start talking about, even like what they talking about right now is illegal immigration. It's gonna hurt the black folks. How? How is it gonna hurt us? I don't care. We all the same people anyway. So they just got conquered by a different nation. You understand? And they mixed amongst that nation, learned they language Spanish, got they Spanish last names. We got conquered by the so-called white man of England or Britain, and they gave us their last names, and then we just didn't mingle as much as them, okay? That's the only difference here. But we the same people. So them coming over the border, I don't care. My vote don't matter. The poor people are not dictating the future or direction of a country. If you believe that, you dumb. And I don't believe she believed that. But she's been paid to talk about politics like this, okay? But I know for sure she knows that the low class, middle class, immigrants do not dictate the direction of any country. So that's just to get us to feel like we included, okay? That's a delusion of inclusion. Always talk about the votes and votes and votes. How come we never talk about actually building a politician from scratch? That's what the so-called white man do. That's what the Chinese man do. They build their politicians from scratch. I'm talking about as a kid, and they finance them and they tell them what they're going to be involved in, what they're going to be learning, what they're going to be researching, so that when it comes to the point of them being politicians, they're gonna be able to have some loyalty and actually know how to help us as a people. How come we don't talk about that? We just want to go down there and vote. Your vote don't mean nothing. How come we never talk about things outside of voting? How come the Republicans always want us to get to vote, but they never want us to become senators or DAs, prosecutors, to actually help our people in the system and not put us away for 25 to life for a non-violent crime? How come they don't want us to be lawyers? How come they don't want us to be judges? How come they don't want to? How come there's no plan for these things? Because there ain't no plan for you, black man. You siding with the conservative side or any side is you're voting for your demise. The Bible say you voting for a nation that cannot save you, or you looking for a nation that cannot save you. The so-called white man is not gonna ever save you. Don't matter if it's Republican, no matter if it's Democrat, it don't matter. It's the same coin, just on a different side. Same bird, just a different wing. However you want to say it, it's the same dirty water. You understand? I don't know what they talked about, but obviously she is hurt by this. But this stance is not one I agree upon. The so-called immigrants or the Hispanics coming over here, this whole land was theirs anyway, and they're not hurting me.
What Lyndon Baines Johnson did when he established welfareism and the Great Society Act, they want to get these people in, offer them handouts, and turn them into economic slaves that will continue to vote for Democrats because they're getting free handouts.
Now, when you say that they're hurting us by coming over, getting welfare, and getting our vote, what are you saying? That we should be the economic slaves? How are they hurting us? Us getting the welfare does not help us. Us becoming economic slaves does not help us. How are they coming over to hurt us? They're gonna take my welfare away? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No. And that's the thing. She's a smooth talker. She talk fast. She talk quick. But when you really examine what she's saying that's the place you belong in. They're coming to take your place. Who cares? We don't belong there anyway.
And it's incredibly racist, first and foremost, but because a lot of Black Americans, I should say, are still living under this deception that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a good president, even though he wasn't a avowed racist. I mean, he hated Black people. I mean, one of the, so many times, hard R referring to us as the N-word. I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this man is being hailed as a hero.
I don't know. Any old white man, I would say any white man that is 60 and above, they've all called us niggas. They've all said the hard ER. They've all done it, okay? I don't care if you Skip Bayless. I don't care if you are Bill Clinton. They've all done it, okay? So this type of emotional fear-mongering, it don't work on me, and it shouldn't work on anyone. But the so-called blacks of this society is so out of touch with who they are and who their God is that anybody can come up here and try to scare them into voting. I'm not voting. My vote, it doesn't matter. They're not going to let me control the government, okay? Stop it.
Because he had to sign the Civil Rights Act, essentially with a figurative gun to his head because the country was on fire. JFK had just died, and there were riots in the streets protesting because of racism, and he did not want to sign it, but he did. And with the other hand, he signed the Great Society Act and incentivized welfareism and, programs to incentivize not marrying Black men. To think that we had government agents knocking on the door, going into the homes of Black women and being like, there better not be a man that lives here. We're just here to...
Ain't that what you did? Ain't that what you did? You don't got no Black men at home. You got you a white man. It worked. That's a trick bag. Like these... people like her and Jason Whitlock and Jesse Lee Peterson, those that seem like they have good intent for our people, always are like black sheep. They're gonna somehow get you to stop caring about who you are and where you come from and the plight of the so-called Black people. Forget about that. All that is just fear-mongering and things that we shouldn't focus on, and a lot of the statistics are more emotional driven than fact. They're gonna start talking about these type of things. It's gonna get you to have the American flag in your background and all that. No, man, I don't trust her. I don't trust Jesse Lee Peterson. I don't trust Jason Whitlock. I don't trust a lot of these so-called blacks that be on this whole Christian YouTube. A lot of them, they don't love who they are or they people either. They are siding with the white man. They are saying that we all one. We're all American. There is no race but the human race. Nah, brother. Because we still getting lynched. We still getting decapitated. We still getting thrown in jail, miseducated. We still being scammed. Like, we still being misrepresented. We still being told that we are thugs and niggas and gangsters and hoes and bitches. We still being told these things from the media, from them. But they want to talk about, oh, well, the racial tension is not really real in America. Come on, man.
Check to make sure if you want this check, dad can't be home. Every other ill that Black America is facing today is because we've removed fathers from the home. So I'm like a big, I use my platform to talk about men a lot and the need for male leadership, everything.
Now you notice that she's never going to say black male leadership. It's always going to be men, not black men, not black males, but men. She's not rooting for you, so-called black men, which ultimately means she's not rooting for her own people.
That is so harmful. This, Me Too, false feminism, all of this crap. It's anti-man, and it's anti-man for a reason, because a society cannot survive without strong men. A household cannot survive without strong men. We need strong men to lead homes. And so then you need strong black men to lead the nation of the so-called black men. Fracturing of the black family, I think, was the test. Like we were the mice in the experiment. Like, let's see how that goes. And now they're kind of doing that writ large. And I hate feminism so much. I can't even tell you, because what it's about is it's just an attack on men.
Oh, you just said a lot, Candace. Let's talk about some
Now, when Larry Elder went on there, said the exact same thing about the fathers not being in the household, but he said the black fathers, I believe, maybe he just said fathers, but as a black man, he's representing who he is who he's representing. They just smashed him. They disrespected him. They talked bad about him. They said disparaging words. Like, it was crazy to hear how that interview went. But when she get on here, nobody say nothing. They just laughing, having a good old time. All right, let me know what you guys think. I don't think she's for the black family. I don't think she's for the black men. And I don't think she's for black people as a whole. When you are sleeping with the enemy, I just don't see how I can trust any of your views, because you're gonna be persuaded by your significant other, period, point blank. You just are. She just got fired from her little network. How did her white man save her then? I just think that she's one of these pro-blackity blacks that actually thinks that the white man gave her a hug and said good job. So she's trying to infiltrate the so-called black man and get us to go over to her side, which ultimately will try to erase the things that we feel and believe about ourselves. And to me, that is gonna be to the so-called black man's detriment if he actually falls for the things that these so-called black Republicans have to say, because ultimately they're gonna get you to forget about who you are, your race, your background, your history, and you're gonna be lost in the sauce talking about we, sounding like a Frenchman, looking dumb, talking about we Americans and human race, which is to your own detriment. So let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments if you agree with what she's saying. If you think that the Hispanics coming over here is gonna replace us as debt slaves or whatnot. And if you like what you heard, go ahead and share. And if you want to roll with the channel, this is a pro-truth channel that's gonna give you a different perspective on things. And that's all we're trying to do. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to change your mind, but just a different perspective. So if you like that, go ahead and hit that subscription button with the notification bell, and we out. Peace.